Let me add my welcome and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We have representatives from the city, state, and federal government, the national labs, the University of New Mexico, and industry here today. I'd like to recognize just a few of you. And again, please hold your applause until the end. Today with us is Barbara Brazil, Deputy Cabinet Secretary for Economic Development for the state of New Mexico. We have Cynthia Armijo, Director of Economic Development for the city of Albuquerque. We have Dr. Stephen Younger, Director of Sandia National Labs. Steve, you and I met a long time ago. It's good to see you again. Thank you very much for coming. We have Dr. Grant Heffelfinger, Sandia's Deputy Chief Research Officer. We have Dr. Chowki Abdallah, President of the University of New Mexico. We have Dr. Christos Christodoulou, Dean of UNM's School of Engineering. Christos, where are you? All the way in the back. We have Steve Squires, the Director of the High Energy Laser Systems Test Facility at White Sands Missile Range. We have Dr. Larry Grimes, Director of the DoD's Directed Energy Joint Transition Office. Thank you for coming, Larry. We have Barry Bunn, the Deputy Director of AFRL's Space Vehicles Directorate. And last and not least, my former co-conspirator for layering a system engineering approach on top of the excellent R&D work done at the Air Force Research Laboratory, my friend and colleague, Dr. Kelly Hammett. So please, to these leaders and to all of the rest of you who took time out of your busy lives to join us here today, thank you for being here, and let's have a round of applause. Today's event culminates a lot of hard work by many of you. It officially signifies a new company, General Atomics, establishing a presence in the city of Albuquerque and the state of New Mexico. My good friend Gary Opedal is in the audience. As many of you know, Gary was the economic development lead for the city under the previous administration. When GA began to think about establishing an office here, and after my GA colleague Dave Roby, who many of you know, started to woo me to come over to General Atomics, I mentioned this budding plan to Gary. And you know, Gary is a quiet and retiring guy, right? He said, with no uncertainty, you should establish your office in the Rainforest building, which, by the way, was only in the early stages of construction. He made some calls to other key leaders. He met with GA Electromagnetic Systems President Scott Forney, and as they say, the rest is history. So here we are. So thank you, Gary. The rainforest ecosystem that we're in is part of the city's vision to grow an innovation center between downtown and the university. It's an ideal place for my new company. Our proximity to creative entrepreneurs, to the tech transition and outreach offices of the university, of the Air Force Research Laboratory, and of Sandia National Labs, proximity to our customers at White Sands, at Los Alamos, and on Kirtland Air Force Base will enable invigorating collisions of ideas and points of view to create new concepts, to establish new linkages, and to innovate for national security and economic development. I look forward to working with all of you in my new role as a General Atomics Director of Operations here, while continuing to contribute to the growth of business, government, and academic industries here in New Mexico. Though my career has carried me to several interesting and unique places, my wife and I have called New Mexico home for decades, and we love it here, and we are here to stay, and so is General Atomics. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to begin to welcome our distinguished speakers. Our first speaker is Senator Martin Heinrich, an educated engineer, serves on the Senate's Armed Services Committee. He founded the Congressional Directed Energy Caucus and is a powerful supporter of R&D for national defense. I'd like Senator Heinrich to come up to say a few words. Please join me in welcoming him. Thank you, Senator.
Welcome, General Atomics. It is so good to have them here in town. Give them a big round of applause and a warm Albuquerque welcome. It's days like this that I really enjoy, because when I started my career out at Air Force Research Labs, Phillips Laboratory at the time, in directed energy, it was the kind of work that General Atomics does that got me excited about what goes on here in Albuquerque and the ecosystem that we have. And when I got into public service, it really pulls you away from a lot of that exciting engineering in many ways. And one of the things that I wanted to be able to give back is just to be able to bring a focus on what is becoming possible in the field of directed energy and pulse power. And Albuquerque is really becoming ground zero for an amount of leadership and a collective of excellence that is becoming known all over the world, in fact, in directed energy. And it was a little over a year ago, I got to go out to San Diego and see their campus out there and see really the up-to-date things that are going on at General Atomics. And it was at that point that President Forney told me, you know, we're going to do it. We're going to open an office in Albuquerque. And in addition to the proximity to Kirtland Air Force Base and Air Force Research Labs and Sandia and White Sands and Holloman, I think it really completes in many ways, or really builds out Albuquerque as the center of excellence for directed energy. Having another world-class player in this space, and the synergy that we get when we have all of these leaders in this space in one space. And that's kind of what the rainforest represents in many ways as well. I think that this is just the beginning. I mean, this is the door opening, the business starting, but it's all the things that are going to happen here as ideas are exchanged and people start to be able to exchange those ideas and work on new ideas. It makes me very optimistic, actually, about the future of Albuquerque and the future of New Mexico and what we can contribute to the rest of the country. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Senator Heinrich. As many of you know, until recently, I served as the Air Force Chief Scientist for directed energy. In 2013, soon after Michelle Lujan Grisham was first elected to Congress, she asked to meet with me to begin to obtain a better understanding of all this directed energy R&D that she heard was going on in her district. And she did that. She came to my office on Kirtland Air Force Base. We spent several hours together. She was an astute student, an attentive listener, and asked a lot of really hard questions. I was, and still am, seriously impressed. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome the Congresswoman from New Mexico's 1st District, Representative Michelle Lujan Grisham, to say a few words.
I wasn't sure where that was going to go for a minute. Usually when I'm crashing people's offices, it goes in a different direction. But I too am really excited. This collaboration, this is what we said, if you build it, if the university and the labs and Kirtland and the city and everyone is working together and you believe in a vision that would put Albuquerque and New Mexico in a position to develop and commercialize private sector investments in so much of the research that goes on right here, that's been going on right here since the 50s, that we can make incredible progress, not only in meeting our country's national security and related commercial needs, but we can create a brand new economic future for this state, and frankly, I don't want to give the states around us any more help, but when we become and should be the epicenter of that work, it's going to have an incredible economic boost for the rest of the country. And you have demonstrated that if we create these partnerships, and we are dedicated about each putting in our efforts, that it can make the kind of difference where companies like General Atomics say, this is where we want to be. And I want to give, and I don't know why I'm going to do this, but give the senator a shout out, because there are, because it's just not fair. It's just not fair. He gets to be an engineer and I'm just a lawyer, and it's just not fair. But we're working on legislation that I have no doubt, even though it's a really tough place to get things done in Congress, boy, my money is on Senator Heinrich. And we have a real chance to finalize and get to the president's desk the Energy Technology Maturation Act. And it's really about just doing as much as we can to create every opportunity for just exactly what's occurring right here with Innovate ABQ and the Rainforest. It's exactly this context. And it should be a great boost for General Atomic and other companies. It's what the senator said. It's the tipping point. And I was lucky enough to get language included in the National Defense Authorization Act that does even more. And I know how excited Honeywell and Sandia are about participating in a more meaningful and direct way by having federal authority to engage as robustly as they can in tech transfer. Because we've been talking about tech transfer since I was born in New Mexico. That was a long, long time ago, the 50s. And we have not really materialized the kinds of benefits that we could, because we haven't had the opportunity to put everybody up and line us up. We are ready. You are ready. We have the kinds of folks in the room today that can, quite frankly, make anything happen. I am so honored to participate in this welcome today. I am so honored to highlight the impact of General Atomic and every company that's making a difference, whether it's in the high-tech area or any areas in Albuquerque and in the state. And it's a great place for me to give the Rainforest a shout-out, because Lisa Kurtrilla has been great about making sure that our Congressional App Challenge, that our efforts at making sure young people are doing STEM, this is the place where we're making it all happen. So thank you very much for including me. I'm looking forward to every grand opening, welcoming, and the identification of resources that are going to make a difference for the future of this community and our state. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lujan Grisham. Our next invited speaker is a graduate of one of the world's premier Catholic universities. No, not Boston College, from which I earned my bachelor's degree, but the other Catholic university, the University of Notre Dame. After subsequently earning a Harvard MBA, followed by remarkable success in business and public service, Tim Keller was elected mayor of the city of Albuquerque this past November. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome our final guest speaker, Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller, to give a few words.
I think lately Boston College has been beating Notre Dame at pretty much every sport. So, but I'm grateful to be up here today. You know, I was thinking a little bit about kind of past, present, and future, and also the day that I've had in our great city. And this is an opportunity, like the other events I've had today, where I get to talk about basically something that I had nothing to do with. So I want to thank the previous administration for all they did to put this together. Sometimes I'm thanking them, sometimes it's the opposite. But right now I am thanking them. So I do appreciate, Gary, all of your work for this, and of course former Mayor R.J. Berry and everyone who helped put this together so that I can get to stand up here and say welcome to General Atomics. I also want to mention some folks here. It is very special that we have 3 economic development directors for the city of Albuquerque essentially in the room. Again, past, present with Gary's hard work. We have Fred Mondragon, who's still on duty. I did want to give him, let's give Fred a round of applause. So Fred has graciously been filling in, and now Cynthia's going to be taking over. And so, again, a good picture of sort of past, present, and future in terms of where we're going. And the other thing that I want to share with you, I think, which very much lines up with what our senator and our congresswoman stated, we've all believed in the idea, historically, of tech transfer and of directed energy. I remember as a state senator when I was the chair of the technology committee, and I ran a tech maturation bill that was probably a version of the federal one that I just copied and tried to do at the state level, that now you're back doing at the federal level. So it did not pass, so I hope you have much better luck. But I do think this truly is a tipping point. So as we think about going forward, number one, this institution. Right here, what we're doing at the Rainforest and what all of you in this room that I see and all the work you've put into this is actually institutionalizing collaboration and tech transfer. And that is a great thing. That is something we have not done in the last 30 years. So I just want everyone to recognize how important it is that we've gotten here today and that General Atomics recognized that and is now a part of that. And so for us, it's also about where do we focus going forward as a city in terms of economic development. And I think as we're learning and listening as we go along, there are a couple of things that are very clear as we think about the future. Number one, we have to focus. The time to sort of hope that every business is going to come here is a strategy that just has not really panned out. But if we focus on key areas where we can get a high return on investment, we actually can broaden our economy in a step change fashion. And so we have kind of a rule of thumb here. What does it mean for Albuquerque to go all in for a company or for an industry? Number one, it's got to have a competitive advantage with our existing companies. And the fact that we're here today with the labs and the university speaks to that connection with General Atomics. Number two, there's got to be growth potential. And I think what we're seeing with technology, that is also clear. Number three, there's got to be ancillary economic impact, and that's why this location is so important. This is part of transforming Route 66 in downtown. And every single private sector employer we can bring here is part of that thesis of Albuquerque rising up, of our downtown, our core becoming strong, and us providing employment at all levels that actually keep our best and brightest here and give folks an urban work environment that we know is so popular throughout the country. And lastly, I think there is a piece that we have to always remember, which is that this is economic-based jobs. We all the time celebrate entertainment jobs and all our great restaurants and so forth, but when we can get an economic-based job, in relative terms, that's the same as 7 service jobs. And so we're especially grateful for that. And so with that, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to stand up here and articulate all of the great reasons why you're already here. And let me know if I can help you expand. Thank you so much.